Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa Bismillah, alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. My dear students, fellows, and my dear brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. It's a great pleasure and honor to be lecturing at Salam University, and it's an honor to have you with me in the corporate finance class. Dear students and fellows, before we begin the class, the video lecture, let me shortly introduce myself. My name is Kamran Malik. I have my MS or Masters in Sciences from International Islamic University of Islamabad in Islamic Banking and Finance. So banking and finance is my major. I have teaching experience at various universities, including Salam University, Khatib University, and Jahan University, and Karwan University as well. Right now, I am a visiting lecturer of Salam University and Khatib University. And I hope this class is going to be a wonderful class, and it would be both a practical and a theoretical class where we could have a practical application of the subject we are studying. Since this is the previous week was the first week where we needed to have a class while you were absent in that class, and I came to attend it. Anyways, right now we have to have few lectures online, and I have this lecture recorded for you, and we'll be having the other lectures inshallah in coming classes or in coming days. Prior to starting the class, feel free to ask any questions that you have in regards to the corporate finance. You can share through your LMS software or application, and you could also share through the WhatsApp group you have. Kindly introduce your class representative or CR, and he will be contacting me regularly for the class. Plus, please do remember that assignments are very important for us. Assignments do play a key role in understanding the subject, in understanding the role of the subject, and also having practical application of the subject. So we move forward in regards to the class. You see, the class is a 3 credit hour class, and we will be covering inshallah 14 to 16 weeks, which includes the midterm and final terms and the presentation for the class as well. The course objective we have is actually we are focusing on a financial analysis of a corporation. We're focusing on making a proper value for a corporation, and we will be covering the capital valuation, capital budgeting, capital structure or working capital, and we will be having some of the analysis which are required in investment. Although we do not have a physical class right now, but what matters in the online class most of the times is the focus. The more you focus, the more you understand the class, the more you understand the course which has been explained by your lecturer. 100% focus is required. I request you not to get engaged in other activities besides listening to the lecture. Please have a notebook, a piece of paper, write whatever you listen. Sometimes you can record them, and this will be helping you to have a successful corporate finance class, and also to be ready to the exam as well, inshallah. So this was all about it. We usually cover the 80%, 80 to 85% attendance is important. While in the video lecture it wouldn't be possible, but you should listen to the video and watch it and share it with your other friends as well. Besides, we have 60% mark in the midterm, in the final term paper, and 20% remaining is, for example, for the classwork, assignments, and presentations, and the 20 remaining would be for the midterm, which is a usual practice. It may change based on the emergency situations. Okay, so the objective of our class is quite much vivid. After the completion of this lecture, we will be trying to be able to discuss investment decisions, how to take an investment decision on an organizational level, whatever organization you're working or whatever corporation you are intending to develop the investment decision, you will be able to do that. You will know the working capital management, the capital budget, the capital structure, management of mergers, and investment analysis. This will be our core objective in the course. The book we will be covering is, as you could see here, it's a corporate finance book written by The Fundamentals, written by Richard A. Barley, Stuart C. Meyers, and the other author. You can find this book in the local stationery shops or bookshops. Please have the book, because it's very important for us to have this book in order to know the questions and to know the theoretical part as well. Okay, moving forward to the outline of the course. You see, we have divided this into two categories. Besides, we have a very detailed course policy in this part. You see the course policy, the whole thing. I can email that to you as well. The introduction part, this is the action plan per week, which includes various topics, introduction, and the other weeks include other topics you could see here. That is a very detailed thing, but to make it very simple, you can use this book as well. To make it very simple, we follow this procedure. If we had time, we cover all of it. If we don't, we will cover the important part of it. So we begin with the introduction of the accounting stuff. We talk about accounting, some of the business definitions. We talk about finance, some of the finance terms that are necessary for us. We talk about introduction to corporate finance. We discuss balance sheet versus income statement. Not the detailed. We do not solve questions in it, but we go through it very quick, because we have already studied this subject in the second, third, or the fourth semesters in financial accounting, one in financial or advanced accounting. So we have covered those subjects. We discuss different types of ratios, common size and index, and some other ratios. We discuss stocks and its types, mergers, the types of mergers, investment and the ratios included in the investment, lease in its types, leverage in its type, bond and bond valuation, venture capital, and capital structure. That's going to be our core titles, outlines for the course, and we will be discussing it in details. Inshallah, if we find time, we will have some other topics. Otherwise, we will cover the core topics in it. So, moving forward to the other part, as I said, we first discuss the business, because you see, business has a one way or the other link with our subject. Business, finance, and accounting, that is a very correlated subject to us. So before we explain the other part, the parts of the business, let's know what is a business. You see, if I give you a few seconds to think about what business is, we usually come up with a definition from our introduction to business subject, anything that generates profit. That's a usual definition for business that we have. But to be honest, business should have a way beyond a very brief definition. Let me make it very simple. We talk about business, what we deal with within the business. For example, we deal with these two things. We deal with, let's say, products and services in business. Now, what we do with product, we produce it. How we produce it, how we produce product, for example, we produce products by utilizing or processing raw materials, right? We do what? We process the raw materials, which makes us to be able to have a product, right? It changes into finished goods then. So you see, we produce products or we buy products. Sometimes we do not produce products. Some businesses, they only buy them. Some businesses sell them. Some of the businesses exchange products, right? And about services, we would say services are actually provided. Provision is the word used for services. Why do we provide services and produce or buy, sell, and exchange products? For earning profit. So profit is a very important thing in business for us to understand. Now, let's make something out of this. Business is a legal process of producing products, you see, buying them, selling them, or exchanging them. Or if we do not do this, we can either provide services, just like I'm providing you services. Universities, educational institutions are providing you services for the purpose of earning profit. So what is the purpose for provision of services? Buying the goods and services, selling them, exchanging them, earning profit. So that's basically the very easiest and simplest definition for a business. Now we've got two types of business. We have according to ownership and according to nature. Sole proprietorship, partnership, and company is part of the ownership part. And while on the other hand, according to nature, we have manufacturing businesses, trading businesses, and service businesses. And let's go further forward. Ownership, one man army. Partnership, more than one man. You see 3, 4, 5. And corporation, more than hundreds of people, like more than 20, more than 30, 50, 100, 500. So you see, the more it increases, the more you could say it's a corporation, right? So sole proprietorship is owned by one person. It is often a small business owner. The owner receives the profit. He gets the profit, suffers the loss, and he's personally liable for the debts and profit and everything, right? یک نفر مسئولی هر چیز هست از تاوان و فایده. Partnership, on the other hand, is owned by more than one person, sorry. Some people say up to 20, right? And it's same like sole proprietorship, right? But we will be discussing the differences. Here the ownership is transferred to few people. Here the liability is borne by the partners. And we could also say we have active and passive partner. One person can manage the business, and other people could take advantage of the profit, etc. But here one guy is involved. Here more than one guy, right? And corporation, for example, you have 100,000 or مثال 20 میلیون افغانی در business سرمایه میکنیم. دیگه او رو ما با تقسیم میکنیم با سهما و stock. So it's a separate legal entity which works under the corporation law of each country. The liability is limited, and we have board of directors in it, board of shareholders in it. Board of shareholders are actually the board which is liable to, which has certain responsibilities, and board of directors also has certain responsibilities. But in corporation, one thing is very necessary. You see, if you want to control the corporation, you have to have more shares in the business. If you go beyond 50 plus shares, it means 55%, for example, 52%. It means you have more power and more authority in the business than the other shareholders. Let's not go into the details because we are only having the brief summary of what we are studying. So now, talking about the example of a business, we could say, for example, by nature we have merchandising or trading business, as we discussed here. You see, trading business according to nature. We discussed according to ownership. So the merchandising business basically is while you are buying or selling goods, right? You are buying them yourself, and then you are selling it. You see, you are not actually manufacturing. You are not actually producing it. یک چیز خودتان میخرین پس میفروشین. مثال دوا میخرین از یک کشور و دیگه کشور، یک شهر و دیگه شهر میارین، در شهر دیگه میفروشید. This is called trading business. یا مثال شما دکاندار هستین، از you buy in wholesaling shops and you sell as a retailer, right? So merchandising basically is you buy something for a reselling purpose, for selling it back. You do not bring any changes in it. You only buy and you sell it back, you see. Okay. Now the merchandising and trading companies, they purchase things and they sell them back. It could be tangible products or intangible products, but usually the tangible and intangible comes within the product itself. Service خدمات. For example, a university is providing you service to their lecturers. از طریق استادای خود یا پروفسورها به شما خدمات ارائه میکنن. چیزی که تدریس میکنن. کدام تولید نیست، فقط خدمات شما استفاده میکنن. educational institution as hospital as clubs, and for example barber shops and etc. Okay, so these companies usually provide intangible products to their customers. Here what is important, the labor force, right? The labor lecturer is a labor who is providing you intangible product, which is the service, the lecturership. Okay, so the manufacturing business is the third type. We studied trading business, service business, and manufacturing is the last one. In the manufacturing business, what we actually do is we are engaged in producing goods. You see, we are producing goods ourselves. For example, we have the raw materials, we work on them just like a carpenter, and we make it a finished good. چوب میگیره از دیگه جای میاره، سرزو کار میکنه نجار، بعد از کار کردن و بازی بعد از اون پروسسی که او طی میکنه، بازی از یک چوکی جور میکنه، یک میز جور میکنه، یک الماری جور میکنه. صحیح؟ یا دیگه کمپانی ها مثال که مارکر جور میکنن، مثال آب معدنی جور میکنن و دیگه چیز سایر مثال های دیگه که ما شما داریم. So this was all about business. We talked about according to ownership, which is sole proprietorship or partnership in corporation, according to nature, merchandising, servicing, and manufacturing businesses. Now I have a question for you. Before we go into the financial aspect, I have a question for you. Please take a notebook and a pencil or a pen and write it. Do you actually deal with financial affairs? Do you deal with it? I mean, each of you. It's not necessary that you have a job or you work somewhere, but do you deal with the financial affairs? Now, write the answer with yourself on another page. Yes or no? If yes, what type of financial affairs do you deal with? If no, we will be discussing it whether we deal with it or not, right? So do write your answer that you deal in XYZ place in financial affairs, right? Okay. Now we go back to the answer. You see, on a very typical level, each and every person living on earth deals with financial matters, financial affairs. How? If you are living in a household, you purchase grocery or the materials that you use, food, etc., 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 milk and for example vegetables, fruits, meat, chicken meat or beef meat or for example fish meat. But what you do, you pay for it, right? While you pay for it, it means that you are dealing with financial affairs. You pay for the particular person. When you pay to the particular person, it means you deal with in financial issues. We will discuss what finance is. Finance is actually what you deal with money. You calculate things. You pay people. You finance. You manage your financial affairs. So that's the whole thing. Now, on a small finance, we do finance at a home or household level. In a middle finance, we deal with small-scale organizations. Small, for example, clinics, small businesses. We do have financing system there. On large financing, we deal with corporations, joint stock companies, which has larger financial statements, balance sheets, income statements, which are dealing with millions of Afghanis or dollars or euros and pounds. So you can categorize it into three, right? The small financing, you deal with small finance. You deal with small level of finance on a family level, on a household level. In middle finance, you deal with organization level, a little small one. In large financing, we deal with larger businesses, larger corporations, which has larger income statements and balance sheets. Moving forward, now we go into the definitions. Now, what is finance? You see, finance is a very broad term. This term describes activities and functions which are associated, which are linked with banking. We talk about banking. We leverage debt or credit. We leverage capital markets. We talk about finance, money. We talk about investments. This whole thing is dealing with finance. For example, as I said, I have studied finance and banking, or banking and finance, because they are both linked. Without finance, you cannot run a banking sector. Without finance, you cannot run an organization, because You need to have budgeting, you need to have calculations, you need to invest in one place, you need to take profit out of whatever money or cash you have spent. So this is the whole thing dealing with financial issues and with finance. So finance basically is a tool used to satisfy our needs on a very basic level. Finance, to be honest, functions as a blood in an organization or in a corporation. Because if there is no money, if there are the financial statements or the financials of an activity an organization is not properly organized and managed, it means you are actually missing the most important part. If there is no money, there is no organization. If there is no financing system, if there are no investments, if there are no proper financing tools for an organization, it means that the organization will be a very backward organization. It will not survive, to be honest, as a human being cannot survive without blood in his body. Now, moving forward, talking about financial management. You see, in financial management, you see finance, we talked about a single word. Now we are combining two things. Management, and what do we do in management? We plan, we organize, we lead people, we do staffing, we do controlling. But what we do in financial management, we do plan, we do organize, we do direct people, we do control people. But what we do not do it for people, but we do it for financial resources. We plan, we organize, we direct, we control. We do these whole lot of things for what? For controlling, for properly organizing our financial activities, such as procurement of the activities, utilization of the funds of the enterprise, how you utilize them, how you, for example, you use your money, how you invest in various places. So this is all dealing with financial management. We talked about leverage. Leverage basically is the financial backup of a company. We will be discussing it in next chapters, inshallah. But an example is that we buy, for example, a fixed asset or take money from another company. So the form of loan that we use to help generate profits. وقتی که مثال ما در جای اینوستمنت میکنیم و ما مثال پول نیاز داشته باشیم به خاطر اینکه ما به هدف اساسی خود برسیم و از تاوان جلوگیری کنیم و اکسپنشن کنیم، رشد بدیم به بزنس خود، ما از فاینانشال لیوریج استفاده میکنیم که اینجا شما یک مثالش هم میبینین. خود لیوریج یک چیز است که بالانس را نگاه میکنه، ارگانیزیشن یک بالانس میاره دیگه. همین قرضه‌ای که ما شما گرفتیم، این ارگانیزیشن ما شما را در یک بالانس، در یک اعتدال میاره تا که ارگانیزیشن ما طرف لاس نره. اگر ما قرضه نگیریم ارگانیزیشن ما بند میشه. فکر کنید که ما کار میکنیم قرضدار شدیم و اگر ما قرض نگیریم ما تاوان میکنیم. شما ارگانیزیشن های مثال کابل بانک یک مثال بسیار خوب است که which was on a deficit when they took loan from the government. دولتی هم شد، تقریبا نیما یا فول پلیج دولتی شد، اما از ابو کشمکش و مشکلاتی که داشت از خود کشید دیگه. لیوریج تقریبا نمی یک چیز است، پس آنم انشاءالله که تفصیلاتش میخوانیم، فقط تا که ما بفهمیم که فایننس چی است که ما دیلینگ میکنیم که اکتیویتی های بانکینگ و کپیتال مارکت و اینوستمنت و سرمایه گذاری که ما میکنیم. باز وقتی که این چیزها را تنظیم میکنیم، صحیح پلان میکنیم، صحیح او را ترتیب میکنیم، این باز فاینانشال منیجمنت. We move forward. While I lecture you, you can write things up with yourself. You can take screenshots, or you can take notes, and inshallah you can ask me questions anytime you like. Even if we had physical classes, you will share your concerns if you had. So now we are moving forward. Now we discuss corporation. We discussed finance, we discussed business, we discussed financial management, we discussed leverage, financial leverage or leverage. Now we discuss the word corporation. You see, corporation, company, these all are the same terms. According to Oxford and Cambridge dictionaries, corporate or corporation is actually a noun which is defined as a company, as I said. And when we talk about a corporation, a company, it becomes a larger organization. right? A larger one. An organization where hundreds of people are working, thousands of people are working. For example, you can talk about Apple, Microsoft, right? And Samsung and other companies which are larger corporations. Or a business organized as a separate legal entity owned by stakeholders. It means that it is organized and it's owned by shareholders as a separate legal entity. It has a separate entity in the government, in the law, which is different than small organizations or small businesses. So that was corporation. Now we talk about corporate finance. Now if we talk about corporate finance, to be honest, corporate finance is also a subject, but it is also a very specific area of the finance, right? In which we analyze financial decisions which are made in the corporation. So it's a specific area of finance where we analyze the financial decisions of corporations. Or for example, we could say the decisions that we make for running the organization. Is actually the corporate finance. The other definition that I have heard most recently is actually corporate finance is a decision-making finance used for running of the corporation's overall activities. Now, when we talk about organization financial activities, we talk about capital budgeting, we talk about working capital, we talk about capital structure. Each of them will be explained later on, inshallah. These terms, capital budgeting, working capital, capital structure, these are very important for us. So the financial decisions which are performed for the financial activities or for the running of the organization is done in corporate finance, right? And these are the things, the decisions could be investment decisions, the decisions we take, or capital budgeting decisions, financing decisions, or day-to-day operations decisions that we could take in the corporate finance. Moving forward, dear students and fellows, we also have to know that finance also means money, because it is a tool which satisfies our own needs, which we discussed before. And so in corporate finance, we deal with companies' finance, right? We deal with a company's finance, a company's money. That's what we are focusing on. We are focusing on the money side, on the finance side, in corporate finance. Because it is, you could see the literal meaning, corporate finance, as we said, finance means money, corporate means company. So we deal with companies financing or money system. Okay. Now, what are the things that are needed for a business, right? What are the things that we need? For example, as we talked about money. Now, the first thing we need is investment, right? If you do not have investment in a business, you cannot acquire asset, or you cannot have an asset, something that on which you run the business, right? The capital is necessary. Investments are usually taken from the owners equity that we call it, capitalists, or we take loan from other people. So that's the two things usually we do. So the capital is the fund raised for acquiring assets, or where from we get this. So that is basically the capital. So the owner's equity or liability, when it is joint, then we have a proper business or a proper corporation. Now, before we move forward, maybe you have come across some questions. For example, the first question that may come to your mind would be in regards to what long-term investment should be undertaken. For example, capital budgeting decision is a very good answer for that. For example, we talk about what is the best way to finance these long-term investments, debt or equity. These are the questions. Capital structure decision, we talk about how should the firm manage its short-term assets and liabilities such as cash. So that would be part of working capital management. We will be discussing that in the coming slides. So the first thing that comes to our mind is capital budgeting. Okay. Now, what is capital budgeting is a very important question. We see that in capital budgeting, it's basically a process of planning and managing the firm's long-term investments. How we plan, how we manage these long-term investments is the capital budgeting, right? The financial managers actually, they do identify the investment opportunities that are worth more for the firm than the cost of to acquire. It means that they have to identify the investment opportunities that have more worth to the organization. The techniques that we use in capital budgeting actually determines which project will yield the best return over an applicable period. تکنیکایی که ما در کپیتال بجتینگ انشالله که پسان میخوانیم ما استفاده میکنیم و متدایی که ما استفاده میکنیم این به همین خاطر است که ما از این بفهمیم که از این کپیتال بجتینگ از این طریق ما زیاد فایده را در وقت مشخص به دست میاریم. مختصر اگر بگوییم کپیتال بجتینگ معنایش این است که we plan, we organize and buy things that are needed for the organization, right? For example, if a machinery is needed, we have properly made our capital budgeting decision. به خاطری که ما میفهمیم که بجت به خاطر کپیتالی که ما نیاز داریم به شکل درست گرفته شده. مثالش بسیار خوبی جوازی هست که a chocolate firm decides whether or not to open a new factory is a capital decision, budgeting decision. یعنی یک کمپانی هست که در یک جای چی داره چاکلیت کمپانی چاکلیت است بازیا روزی فکر میکنن که ما یک دیگه برانچ رو جور کنیم یا یک دیگه فکتری رو جور کنیم که اگر ما جور کنیم که این بر ما فایده میرسانه یا نمیرسانه اگر فایده میرسانه چقدر فایده میرسانه این کلگی چیزا در خود کپیتال بجتینگ دیسیژن میه. من قبلا براتون عرض کردم که مثال چی را گرفتیم یک ماشینری را که وقتی که روزی ما فکر میکنیم که این ماشینری به ما شما مفید است یا نیست این ماشین خوب است یا نیست مثال یک ماشین یا رمای به کلینیک خود یا مثال به شفاخانه خود میخریم ما من حیث فایننس منیجر باید را بفهمیم که این ماشینری بر ما چقدر فایده را میرسانه یعنی ماشینری چقدر کاست پلاس انالیسیس چه میکنیم تا چقدر سال سکرپ میشه و چقدر فایدهش میرسه. So this whole thing has been discussed in capital budgeting. Now the next part that we will be discussing is capital structure. Now, as we had a question before, what is capital structure and who is developing the capital structure? It's a very mandatory question that may come to our mind. In the capital budgeting, we tend to work on how we obtain and manage the long-term financing that we need to support our long-term investments, right? So basically the capital structure is a specific mix of short-term debt, long-term debt and equity. It means that we actually figure out the short-term debts alongside the long-term debts that we take from other people in the equity or the owner's capital or the owner equity that the money that we have in the business. Or in other words, we would say that all sources of funds that are involved in a business is actually the capital structure. If that is the shares, or for example the credits or liabilities of others, all are part of the capital structure. So raising long-term financing can be expensive for us. So the different possibilities must be considered. یعنی همیشه ما اگر میخوایم که لانگ ترم فایننسینگ کنیم یک جای اینوستمنت کنیم یگان وقت ما نیاز داریم که باید قرض بگیریم باید اگر ما شما از جیب خود همیشه بتیم یا از چند نفر که همیشه در مد نظر داشته باشیم شاید ما به فایده نرسیم یگان وقت ما میتونیم که از دیگرها قرض بگیریم دیگه او قرضا شاید لانگ ترم باشه شورت ترم باشه that is another issue but sometimes you actually need to figure out the possible ways through which you can do investments and you finance in other places. So sources of funds which are used in capital structure or it can be a definition for capital structure or shares, bonds, we will discuss it later on. Bonds are usually issued by the government. Shares are issued by the organization itself. اسهام organization است که همو کلگی ارزش و ورث organization خود به همو سهام تقسیم میکنه. باز مردم سهامایشان اسهامشان میگیرن و بانds هستن که بانزها را خود organization هم ایشو کرده میتونه، از طریق دولت هم میتونه تا که فاینانشل نیدز خود به دست بیارن. فاینانشل نید اینجا هم نوشته کنیم که باز اگر شما در سلاید میبینید. خب این کپیتال استراکچر که است، قسمی که گفتیم که به خاطر ازی است که چه قسم ما فایننسینگ کنیم، چه قسم اینوستمنت کنیم، پول از کدام جای ما نیاز داریم، کلگی هم سورس های فند که است، منابعی که به خاطر فند استفاده میشه، این ما در اینجا دیسکس میکنیم. و این کپیتال استراکچر عموما از طریق بورد آف دایرکتور اپروو میشه و بورد آف دایرکتور این را فاینال میکنه و جور میکنه. This point has to be noted very well. In the next or the last slide, we talk about the working capital management. That is the third decision or third part that we will be covering in our course, the working capital. Now, what is working capital in what it is used for, we will be discussing in this slide. اگر ما از معنای تحت لفظی هم ببینیم، ما میفهمیم که working capital کپیتال هست، سرمایه هست که او به خاطر working یعنی چیزایی که در جریان باشه با او استفاده میشه. او را ما چه قسم منیج میکنیم؟ That is what we discuss in working capital. You see, it refers to the firm's short-term assets, including inventory and liabilities, the stock and liabilities such as cash owned to suppliers, money used for daily activities. It means that the financing and the money that you use for daily activities actually deals with working capital. The daily activities, daily functions that you have. So managing working capital is the day-to-day activities related to the firm's receipt and disbursement of cash. It means that in the working capital we deal with the payments we do on daily basis, we pay to others, and it also deals with the payments you receive. So the daily payments you made, the daily payments you receive, and the short-term assets that are involved, including the stock, these all deals with the working capital. So that was for working capital that we discussed. Now moving forward, this will be today's whole lecture. The assignment, as I said, that our assignments are very important for us. Please do work on the difference between finance management and corporate finance. What is the main difference between financial management subject and corporate finance, based on area, based on subject, both. And I will be asking you for the assignments through emails, and if that was possible on LMS, I'll be asking for that as well. So do kindly work on that. It's 8-semester class. I expect to have nice assignments, nicely written, in a nice format. Please do consider the formats for assignments. Search on the internet, Google it, what formats that you could use. It should be at least 5 pages with some of the graphical representations if possible as well. In the coming lectures, inshallah, we will be discussing different types of market agency problems, the corporate finance and financial management, goals of financial management or finance management, scope of corporate finance. If we had time, we will cover all. Otherwise, we will be covering most part of it. The most important parts that we studied were the types of business, by ownership, by nature, and we also discussed the financial affairs or types of finance that we are engaged in. We discussed the finance itself. We discussed financial management. What is financial management? We discussed corporations. We discussed the things needed for money. We discussed the decisions made by in corporate finance. We discussed capital budget. We have elaborated the capital budget as a technique where we determine what investment is best for us, what investment best fits for us. If it's best, we take a decision. Otherwise, we do not take a decision. We talked about capital structure. We discussed that it is the mixture of the short-term debts along with the long-term debts and the owner's equity that is involved. If we do not have enough cash, we may go into the debts. We may take loan from others. That is part of the capital structure. We also discussed working capital management, which works on the working capital, day-to-day activities, day-to-day functions, the financing, the money that goes, the money that comes on daily basis. That is all part of our working capital, and the assignment was the other part. So thank you very much, and Jazakumullahu khairan. If you have queries and questions, please do not hesitate to share with me, and I will be looking forward for your questions through Skype or LMS. Please share your CR's contact, class representative's contact through توحیدی صاحب مدیر تدریسی از طریق زو شریک بسازین. اگه شما او را شریک بسازین، باز از طریق واتساپ هم میشه که ما شما سوال و جواب داشته باشیم. تشکر از توجهتان. انشالله که موضوعاتی که ما شما بارهشان گپ زدیم در صنف بعدی رویش گپ میزنیم. جزاکم الله خیرا و السلام علیکم و رحمت الله و برکاته.